Maya sat in seat 12C, just another black woman being ignored by the flight crew. They had no idea she was Viper 1, a legendary fighter pilot who had saved countless lives in combat. When their plane started falling from the sky, only she could save them all. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Maya walked through Denver Airport carrying a small bag. She was a tall black woman, 32 years old. She wore simple blue jeans and a plain white shirt. Her short hair was neat and tidy. She looked like any normal person traveling for work or vacation. People in the airport did not pay attention to her. They did not know that Maya was Lieutenant Colonel Maya Washington of the United States Air Force. They did not know her call sign was Viper 1. They did not know she was one of the best fighter pilots in the world. Maya had fought in secret missions. She had saved many lives. She had medals for being brave in combat. But to the people around her, she was just another black woman traveling alone. At Gate 23, Flight 847 was getting ready to fly to Miami. Maya showed her ticket to the gate agent. The agent, a white woman with blonde hair, barely looked at her. "Economy class boards last," the agent said rudely. "Wait over there." Maya looked at her ticket. It showed seat 12C, which was economy class. She had paid for her own ticket because this was personal travel, not military business. She sat down in the waiting area and opened a book about military history. Around her, other passengers waited for the flight. Most were white business people and families going on vacation. They talked and laughed with each other. No one talked to Maya. When she smiled at other passengers, they looked away. "Now boarding Flight 847, announced Jessica, the flight attendant. Jessica was young and blonde with a bright smile. "First class and gold members can board now." Maya watched as the first-class passengers walked onto the plane. The flight attendants smiled at them and helped with their bags. They called them sir and ma'am with respect. When economy class started boarding, Maya stood in line. She was polite and patient. When she reached the plane door, Jessica checked her ticket. "Seat 12C, Jessica said without smiling. Her voice was cold. "Go straight back. Don't block the aisle." Maya walked to her seat. It was in the middle of the plane between two white men. The man on her left, wearing an expensive suit, moved his briefcase away when she sat down. He looked uncomfortable. The man on her right put on headphones and turned away. "Excuse me," Maya said politely to the man in the suit. "I think that's my armrest." The man looked annoyed. "We're sharing it," he said rudely. Maya decided not to argue. She had dealt with this kind of treatment before. Being a black woman meant some people automatically assumed bad things about her. They thought she was poor, uneducated, or dangerous. They had no idea who she really was. After everyone was seated, the flight attendants started serving drinks. Maya watched Jessica work. When Jessica served white passengers, she was friendly and helpful. She laughed at their jokes. She asked if they needed extra pillows or blankets. But when Jessica reached Maya's row, everything changed. She barely looked at Maya. "What do you want?" Jessica asked in a flat voice. "Could I have some water, please?" Maya asked politely. "We'll see," Jessica said. She gave drinks to the two men next to Maya first. She brought them full bottles of water and asked if they needed anything else. Then she gave Maya a tiny plastic cup with very little water. "Thank you," Maya said, but Jessica had already walked away. Maya sighed quietly. She had faced racism many times in her military career. Some people could not believe a black woman could fly fighter jets. Some thought she only got her job because of her race, not her skills. They were wrong, but their opinions still hurt. What these people did not know was that Maya had trained harder than almost everyone else. She had to be twice as good to get half the respect. She had flown dangerous combat missions over enemy territory. She had saved the lives of soldiers on the ground. She had shot down enemy aircraft. Her call sign Viper 1 was famous in military circles. Other pilots talked about her with respect and fear. Enemy forces knew to run when they heard Viper 1 on the radio. She was a legend, a hero, a warrior who had risked her life for her country many times. But on this civilian flight, she was just another black woman being treated badly. The flight took off smoothly. Maya tried to read her book, but the poor treatment bothered her. She watched Jessica serve other passengers. White families got extra snacks for their children. Business travelers got upgrades and special treatment. But Maya got nothing. When Maya asked for a blanket because the plane was cold, Jessica sighed loudly. "I'll check," Jessica said rudely. But she never came back. Maya watched her give blankets to 3 white passengers who asked later. The man in the expensive suit next to Maya ordered an alcoholic drink. Jessica brought him a full-size bottle and a nice glass with ice. She chatted with him about business and the weather. "And for you?" Jessica asked Maya in a bored voice. "Could I have the same drink, please?" Maya asked. "That's a premium drink," Jessica said. "It costs $15. Maya pulled out her credit card. "That's fine." Jessica looked surprised, as if she expected Maya could not afford it. She brought the drink but gave Maya a plastic cup instead of glass. The drink was warm with no ice. Maya did not complain. She had learned to pick her battles. But inside she felt angry and sad. She served her country with honor, but civilians treated her like she was nothing. 2 hours into the flight, everything changed. A loud bang shook the entire plane. Passengers screamed as the aircraft suddenly dropped. Maya's military training kicked in immediately. She knew that sound: engine failure. The plane shook violently. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. The lights went out, then came back on. People were crying and praying. Children screamed for their parents. In the cockpit, Captain Rodriguez and First Officer Martinez were fighting to control the aircraft. Red warning lights covered their control panel. The left engine had exploded. They were losing power fast. "Mayday, mayday." Captain Rodriguez spoke into his radio. "This is Flight 847. We have complete engine failure. Requesting emergency landing immediately." The air traffic controller responded quickly. "Flight 847, we copy your mayday. We're clearing airspace. What is your status?" "We've lost the left engine completely," the captain said. "Hydraulic systems are failing. We're losing altitude fast. We need help." "Flight 847, we're contacting military advisors for emergency assistance. Stand by for expert guidance." In the cabin, passengers were panicking. Some thought they were going to die. The flight attendants, including Jessica, looked terrified. They had basic emergency training, but this was beyond anything they had learned. Maya stayed calm. Her years of military training had prepared her for emergencies. She analyzed the situation quickly. The plane was in serious trouble, but it was not hopeless. She had flown aircraft with much worse damage during combat missions. The radio crackled again. "Flight 847, this is Denver Control. We have contacted our top military aviation expert. Call sign Viper 1 is standing by to assist." Jessica froze when she heard those words over the intercom. Viper 1. Her brother was in the Air Force and he had told her stories about that call sign. Viper 1 was supposed to be some kind of legendary pilot, a hero who had saved countless lives in secret missions. But how could Viper 1 help them now? They needed someone on the plane, not on the radio. "Attention passengers," came the captain's voice over the speakers. His voice was shaking with fear. "We are experiencing a serious emergency. If anyone on board has aviation experience, please identify yourself to the crew immediately." Maya unbuckled her seatbelt and stood up. She walked toward the front of the plane with calm confidence. Her movements were controlled and purposeful, like a soldier marching into battle. Jessica stared at her in confusion and annoyance. "Ma'am, please return to your seat immediately," Jessica said sharply. "This is an emergency. You cannot be walking around." "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Maya Washington, United States Air Force," Maya said in a clear, strong voice that carried through the cabin. "My call sign is Viper 1. I need to speak with your captain right now." Jessica's face went completely white. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The same woman she had treated so rudely, the woman she had ignored and disrespected, was the legendary Viper 1. That's impossible," Jessica stammered. I'm just a what?" Maya asked, raising one eyebrow. "A black woman? Someone you assumed didn't belong in first class? Someone you thought couldn't afford a $15 drink?" Other passengers nearby heard the conversation. The businessman in the expensive suit stared in shock. He had avoided talking to Maya for the entire flight, assuming she was beneath him. Now he realized he had been sitting next to one of the most famous military pilots in the world. "Take me to the cockpit immediately," Maya commanded. "Every second we waste puts everyone in more danger." Jessica stumbled forward, her hands shaking as she led Maya to the front of the plane. She knocked on the cockpit door with trembling fingers. "Captain," Jessica called out. "There's a passenger here who says she's Viper 1. The door opened instantly. Captain Rodriguez looked exhausted and desperate. When he saw Maya, confusion crossed his face. He had expected Viper 1 to be a white man, not a black woman. "Are you really Viper 1? He asked doubtfully. "Yes, sir." Lieutenant Colonel Maya Washington, United States Air Force. Serial number 2847391. I need to see your instruments immediately. Something in Maya's voice convinced the captain. He stepped aside and Maya entered the cockpit. She quickly scanned the control panel with expert eyes. The situation was very bad. They had lost the left engine completely. Hydraulic fluid was leaking. The flight control systems were failing one by one. How long since the engine failure? Maya asked, taking charge of the situation. 15 minutes, First Officer Martinez replied. We're losing altitude and having trouble controlling the plane. Maya studied the instruments with the precision of a combat pilot. She had flown damaged aircraft in much worse conditions during war. This was challenging, but she could handle it. You're overcorrecting on the rudder, Maya said calmly. The working engine is pushing the plane to one side. Reduce power to 75% and adjust the trim. We need to establish a stable gliding pattern. She took the co-pilot's seat and began working the controls. Her hands moved with practiced skill, making small adjustments that immediately made the plane more stable. Denver Control, this is Viper 1 now on board Flight 847. Maya spoke into the radio with professional calm. I am taking control of the emergency. Request immediate clearance to Denver International, runway 34 left. Have all emergency services standing by. Viper 1, this is Denver Control. Confirmed, you have full priority. All other aircraft have been diverted. Fire trucks, ambulances, and rescue teams are in position. Copy that, Denver. Flight 847 beginning emergency approach. Estimated time to landing, 18 minutes. Back in the cabin, word spread quickly about who Maya really was. Passengers who had ignored her or treated her poorly now stared at the cockpit in amazement. They realized that the woman they had dismissed was their only hope for survival. Jessica stood frozen outside the cockpit door. She watched Maya work with incredible skill and confidence. Shame washed over her as she remembered her rude behavior. She had treated a war hero like garbage because of the color of her skin. The businessman who had moved his briefcase away from Maya now felt sick with embarrassment. He thought about how he had judged her based on her appearance. He had assumed she was poor or uneducated. Now this same woman was the only thing standing between him and death. Other passengers began to understand their mistake. They had seen a young black woman and automatically made assumptions about her background, her education, her worth as a person. They never imagined she was one of the most skilled and decorated pilots in the military. In the cockpit, Maya worked with intense focus. She guided the two pilots through complex emergency procedures. Her voice was calm and reassuring, even as they faced a life-threatening crisis. Listen to me carefully, Maya told the captain. I've landed aircraft in much worse conditions than this. We're going to make it, but I need you to trust me completely. What do you need us to do? Captain Rodriguez asked. First, we need to dump fuel to reduce our weight. Then we'll approach the runway at a steeper angle than normal. The plane will want to roll to the left because of the missing engine. I'll compensate for that. Maya coordinated with air traffic control, calculated approach angles, and adjusted for the asymmetric thrust from the single working engine. Her expertise showed in every decision, every command, every small correction that kept them safely in the air. Flight attendants, prepare the cabin for emergency landing, Maya announced over the intercom. Her voice was strong and confident, giving comfort to the terrified passengers. Everyone listened carefully to the safety instructions. Assume the brace position when we tell you. We will be on the ground safely in 12 minutes. Jessica moved through the cabin, helping passengers prepare for the emergency landing. But she couldn't stop thinking about her terrible behavior. This woman, this genuine American hero, had endured her discrimination without complaint. Maya had remained dignified and professional even when facing racism and disrespect. As they approached Denver International Airport, Maya's exceptional skill became even more obvious. She guided the crippled aircraft with precision that amazed the experienced pilots beside her. The plane lined up with the runway despite having only one engine. 50 feet, Maya called out, reading the altitude. 40 feet, 30 feet. Flare now. The plane touched down smoothly on the runway. Maya expertly controlled the landing roll, using the brakes and steering to keep the aircraft straight as emergency vehicles raced alongside them. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Denver, Maya announced as the plane rolled to a stop. Emergency crews will help everyone evacuate. Please remain calm and follow the flight attendant's instructions. You are all safe. Loud cheers erupted throughout the cabin. Passengers who had ignored Maya just hours earlier now looked at her with admiration and deep gratitude. They were alive because of her incredible skill and courage. As passengers evacuated the plane using emergency slides, many approached Maya to thank her personally. The businessman who had avoided her now shook her hand with tears in his eyes. "Colonel Washington," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "I'm deeply sorry for how I treated you. I made terrible assumptions about you because of your race. Thank you for saving our lives despite my rudeness." Maya nodded graciously. "We all have biases we need to examine. What matters is learning from our mistakes and doing better in the future." Other passengers lined up to apologize and thank her. A mother with 2 young children hugged Maya's legs. "You saved my babies," she cried. "I judged you wrongly and I'm so sorry." An elderly white man who had stared at Maya suspiciously during boarding now took off his hat respectfully. "Ma'am, I served in Vietnam. I recognize a true soldier when I see one. You have my deepest respect and gratitude." Jessica was one of the last people to approach Maya. The flight attendant's face was red with shame and tears. She could barely look Maya in the eyes. "Colonel Washington," Jessica began, her voice breaking. "I owe you the biggest apology of all. The way I treated you was completely wrong and inexcusable. I was racist and I'm disgusted with myself." Maya studied Jessica's face and saw genuine remorse. "You treated me poorly because you made assumptions based on my skin color. That hurt, but it happens to me more often than you might think." "I'm so ashamed," Jessica said, crying. "You saved all our lives after I was so horrible to you. You gave me terrible service, ignored your requests and treated you like you didn't matter. I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow," Maya replied kindly. "Use this experience to examine your own biases. Treat all passengers with equal respect, regardless of what they look like or where you think they come from." "I will," Jessica promised. "I'm going to ask for diversity training. I want to make sure I never treat anyone this way again." Maya smiled. "That's a good start." As Maya walked through the airport after the emergency, news reporters surrounded her. They wanted to interview the hero pilot who had saved Flight 847. Maya answered their questions with the same calm professionalism she had shown in the cockpit. "Colonel Washington, how do you feel about the discrimination you faced on the flight?" one reporter asked. "Racism is still a reality that many people face every day," Maya replied. "What happened today shows how prejudice can blind us to people's true capabilities and worth. But it also shows that people can change when they confront their biases." The story of Flight 847's emergency landing quickly became national news. Headlines read, "War Hero Saves 180 Lives After Facing Racism," and "Viper 1, the fighter pilot who overcame prejudice to save flight." Maya's photo appeared on television and websites around the world. In the days following the incident, Maya received hundreds of messages from people thanking her and apologizing for the discrimination she had faced. The businessman wrote her a long letter explaining how the experience had changed his perspective on racial prejudice. Jessica also contacted Maya, asking to meet for coffee. During their conversation, Jessica talked about how the incident had completely transformed her worldview. "I never realized how my unconscious biases affected my behavior," Jessica said. "I thought I was treating everyone fairly, but I wasn't. I've started volunteering with civil rights organizations because of what happened." Maya appreciated Jessica's efforts to make positive changes. "Recognizing our biases is the first step toward overcoming them," Maya told her. "It takes courage to examine ourselves honestly and work to do better." The incident became a powerful teaching example about the dangers of racial prejudice. Maya had endured discrimination from people who had no idea they were disrespecting a decorated war hero, a woman who had dedicated her life to serving and protecting others. But the story also demonstrated how crisis situations can reveal both the worst and best in people. The ugly reality of prejudice and the beautiful potential for growth and redemption. The passengers and crew who had treated Maya poorly were forced to confront their biases when they realized their lives depended on the woman they had dismissed. Maya returned to her military duties with renewed purpose. The incident reminded her why her service mattered, not just in combat overseas, but in challenging people's assumptions about what an American hero looks like. She continued flying dangerous missions and earning additional decorations for her courage and skill. The call sign Viper 1 became even more legendary after Flight 847. Military personnel around the world shared the story of how she had saved civilian lives while enduring racial discrimination. Her example inspired countless other minority service members who faced similar challenges in their careers. Years later, Maya was promoted to full colonel and eventually became the first black woman to command her fighter wing. She never forgot the lessons of Flight 847. That prejudice exists in many forms, but courage, competence, and dignity can overcome even the strongest biases. The incident also led to lasting changes in airline industry policies. Several major carriers implemented comprehensive training programs about unconscious bias and equal treatment of all passengers. Flight 847 became a case study in business schools and diversity training programs. Maya often spoke at conferences about diversity and inclusion, sharing her story to help others understand the real impact of racial bias. She emphasized that discrimination doesn't just hurt individuals, it can blind entire organizations to valuable talent and expertise. On Flight 847, people almost missed out on getting the help they desperately needed because they judged me by my appearance instead of my abilities, Maya would tell audiences. How many other times do we make similar mistakes? How many talented, capable people do we overlook because they don't look like what we expect a leader or expert to look like? Her powerful message resonated with people across different industries and backgrounds. The story of Viper One became a lasting reminder that heroes come in all colors, genders, and backgrounds, and that our prejudices can prevent us from recognizing the extraordinary people who walk among us every day. Maya Washington, callsign Viper One, had saved more than just the lives of 180 passengers that day. She had opened minds, changed hearts, and reminded everyone that true heroes are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for their moment to serve her regardless of what they look like or where others mistakenly think they belong.